Hey everybody, I just wanted to let you know that we are getting started. This is the Fundera Town Hall, and I want to thank Fundera for asking me to do this. My name is Stacy Kildal, and I own and operate Kildal Services, LLC. We're located in White Lake, Michigan, but we do books and everything that has to do with QuickBooks for pretty much clients all around the country. So what we're going to be talking about today is based on an article that I wrote for the Fundera Ledger. I write an article every month and have for a few years, and it's geared towards small business owners, helping them how to understand the difference between a bookkeeper and a tax preparer, just how-tos with QuickBooks Online. And that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. I wrote an article. It's the 11 most frequently asked questions about QuickBooks Online, and that's what we're going to talk about for about the next maybe half hour, 20 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a screen share so you can see this is what we're doing today. This is the Facebook Live Q&A webinar. I have some questions that we have asked, and you can also ask some questions in the comments if you'd like. So one of the first questions that we have is, what is QuickBooks? This is what we're going to be talking about, is QuickBooks Online. And QuickBooks Online is a cloud-based accounting software. My firm, Kildal Services, it's the only accounting software that we support. So we only work with clients who use QuickBooks Online. And that being said, we do setup, we do training, we do monthly bookkeeping, we do conversions from QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online. We do QuickBooks cleanup. We do what we call a quick review. So if it's QuickBooks, basically Kildal Services does it. And the next question that we have is, what are the different product offerings? So luckily, my friend Woody Adams, he is my co-host and co-founder of what we call the QBO Show. Some of you may have heard this. It's a podcast. We've been probably the longest running QuickBooks-based podcast that's out, at least that I know about. And it's called QBO Show. And we have our show every second and fourth Thursday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m., sometimes a little shorter, sometimes a little longer, depending on what the topic is. And if you go to QBOshow.com and you click up here in the top left corner, you'll see tips. These are just some links that we have. The ones that are the most popular are the ones what we call the matrix, and Woody Adams created these amazing, and he's actually product specialist for Intuit, and he works full-time at Intuit, and then on the side he does the show with me, and he's created these we call them the matrix. They're product comparisons. So again, if you go to QBOshow.com, click up in that top left corner and get to tips. It'll take you to this page, and what I want to show you is this QuickBooks Online product comparison. We're just going to click on this link, and what this is going to do is this opens up this crazy big spreadsheet, this Google spreadsheet. And I'm going to go ahead and put both of these links in the comments so you guys can see these. These are basically, the one that I'm showing you is every version of QuickBooks Online, or QuickBooks. And I'm putting these here in the comments so you guys can see these links. There's one that you guys can see right now, and this is showing you QuickBooks Pro, QuickBooks Premier, Enterprise. Let me enlarge this just a little bit so you guys can see it a little bit better. But this is going to show you all of the different products across the top, and this left column, this orange column, shows you all of the different features or functionalities. So functionality that's in each one of the products. We also have one, if we go back to QuickBooks, we go back to the QBO Show, to our tips page, we have another one that's just comparing QuickBooks Online. So this is the one that we have here. That's what this is. And this is just comparing the online products. So we have both of these. So if you need to know, what the different features or the different functionalities are, this is where you want to go take a look at that, and this is where you're going to find those. These are only found here on our website. These are not, Intuit has not created these. They're view only, and we never really intended for these to be printed. They're really going to be online tools for you. So that's what QuickBooks Online or QuickBooks is, and those are the different versions of those different products. So let me check the question. Meredith has a question. When someone is ready to transition from QuickBooks Self-Employed to QuickBooks Online, what do they need to make the transition seamless? So the answer to that is really, I would suggest finding a ProAdvisor. You can go to the Find a ProAdvisor website, and the reason why I say to make it seamless is right now at this point in time, and it's January 23rd, 2018, there's no way to convert from QuickBooks Self-Employed to any version of QuickBooks Online. So you have to do basically a whole new QuickBooks setup. So, and I always recommend finding a QuickBooks expert and finding a QuickBooks consultant that can walk you through that process. So just keep that in mind. If you are using QuickBooks Self-Employed and you want to move to QuickBooks Online, I would say find a ProAdvisor.com and find somebody maybe in your area, or, you know, that maybe not even be in the area. You can find somebody anywhere in the country. Most of us work remote, who can make that transition for you, because you're going to have to start a new QuickBooks Online subscription. So let's see if we have some other questions here. Meredith, also, is there another or any circumstance that a business would still need to use QuickBooks Desktop? No. I'm just kidding. Yeah, actually, if I have someone come to me and they want QuickBooks, or they're on QuickBooks Desktop and they want to move to QuickBooks Online, right now at this point in time, there's one thing that I will tell them to stay with QuickBooks Desktop, and that is if they need some integrated labor costing. So if you are a contractor who is doing pretty heavy lifting when it comes to direct labor, and you want to track that labor costing, right now QuickBooks Desktop still does a better job. QuickBooks Online doesn't do it at all. You can track contractor expenses, or if you're a general contractor and you have subs, 1099 contractors, then you can track the labor that way, but there's no integrated labor costing the way there is in Desktop. So that's going to be the only way that or the only reason at this point in time that I would suggest that somebody stay on Desktop. Pretty much everybody else we can move to QBO. And there's workarounds for it. If they really wanted to move to QuickBooks Online, we can do that. Emily is asking what the best way to find a ProAdvisor is. I will show you. If you go to a website called findaproadvisor.com, and I'm just going to copy and paste this and put this in the comments as well. This is going to be the best way that you can to locate a ProAdvisor. And let me put this in the link right there. So you just can search, and you can say, hey, I need somebody to help me with QuickBooks setup and consultation. I'm in White Lake, Michigan, and I can even, pinpoint this to, the specific area code that I'm in, and then just click search. If you're looking for tax planning, so it lets you choose what type of services that you're looking for. And again, that's findaproadvisor.com. Braden is asking, do I have a favorite business credit card? I don't have a favorite business credit card. I've traveled a lot. One of the things that I do, Intuit hires me. I'm part of the Trainer and Writer Network, so they fly me kind of all over the place to go teach QuickBooks Online to other accounting professionals. So I fly a lot. And because I'm here in Michigan, Detroit Metro Airport is a Delta hub, so I generally am going to fly Delta. So for me, I just use my personal Delta Amex. It gets me a lot of miles because I fly, so I put all my airfare on there, I put all my hotel, and I use that strictly for business. Even though it's a personal card, I do use my Delta Amex strictly for business. And that's one of the things that I just had this conversation with a prospective client yesterday. She said, oh, I have a personal card, and I know you're not supposed to do that. That's perfectly okay. Most accounting professionals aren't going to care as long as you're just using that card just for business. We don't want to commingle. We don't want to commingle the transactions. So no, I don't have necessarily a favorite business credit card. So one of the other questions that we have from the article, one of the common questions is, how do you enter and track expenses in QuickBooks Online? So you can see I have up on my screen, I have QuickBooks Online set up. If I want to enter an expense, maybe I have just gone to Office Depot or I've gone to an office supply store and I need to enter that expense in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up here to my Quick Create button, and let me see if I've got my little zoom in here. So maybe I don't. Nope, it doesn't look like I have it today. It's not going to work. So I'm going to go to my Quick Create, which is this, what I call the Spinny Plus button. It's up here in the, let me see if I can get it working. There we go. The Spinny Plus. So I'm going to click on my Spinny Plus, or what is technically called the Quick Create, and I'm going to go over here to Expense. And I'm going to choose expense. So because this is a debit transaction, this isn't a paper check that I've written, I'm going to click on expense, and I'm going to choose my payee. Maybe, do I have it? I don't have it. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to say, put in the name of my office supply store. It's not in there, so I can add it right from here. I can add that vendor. I'm just going to click add office supply. I'm going to say yes, it is a vendor. And then I'm going to click save. And all I did was type in the name, and I hit tab, and it said, hey, we don't have that in here, Stacy. Do you want to add this vendor? And I said, yes, thanks. Hey, QB, thank you. So the next field here, this is where did I pay this from? How did I pay? I used my debit card, which is connected to my business checking account. So I want to leave checking, and then I can tab over here. I'm going to tab to the date. I'm going to use today's date. If it was maybe yesterday that I did this, I could use the minus sign. Maybe I'm just getting a chance to enter it in right now. So I can say, you know what, it wasn't today, this was yesterday on my way home. I had to stop and grab ink for my printer. So what's really cool is if you use the plus or the minus in a date, it'll increase the date one day, or it'll back it up one day. So I'm going to say this was yesterday. And my reference number over here is a debit card. I'm going to just put in debit. You can see here I've got debit. That's my reference because it's not a check. I'm not writing a paper check. And then I'm going to go down here to where I have the account. And this means, what kind of expense was it? Well, this was office supplies. So I'm going to see what we have in here. I'm using a demo account. So I have office expenses. So I'm going to choose that account here. I'm going to say office expenses. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to say office expense. And I'm going to say this was printer ink. And I paid, because printer ink is ridiculously expensive. Odds are I probably paid about $200 for two tiny little cartridges. And it's not for a customer. If I'm using QuickBooks Online Plus, I could assign this as a cost that's related to a customer, but it's not. So I'm just going to leave this blank. And then I'm just going to say save and close because I'm done. So right here, save and close. And that is how you enter an expense. I see that Emily has a question, and I'm going to get to that in just one second. But the other thing I want to show really quickly is if I were writing a paper check. This is another way that we can enter an expense into QuickBooks Online. Again, I'm going to go back to my Spinny Plus, or I know it's technically not called Spinny Plus, but I still like to call it Spinny Plus. That Quick Create button. So I'm going to click on that. But this is maybe a paper check. Maybe I hand wrote a check, or I printed a physical check and sent it out. I have a client who's an auto shop, and when they get parts delivered, they hand write a lot of the checks. So I'm going to say, you know, this was a paper check that I wrote to, we'll say this is an auto supply store, right? And so I'm entering in that auto supply store right here. I'm entering that in. It's not in. I typed the name of the store. It's not in. So I want to go ahead and I want to add this in and say add, right? So I'm going to click add auto supply store. It is a vendor, and I want to go ahead and save. So now the name is in my vendor list. And again, this is a paper check that I've written. So I want to make sure it's coming out of my business checking account. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to tell it what check number is it. Now, if this were a paper check that I was going to print and maybe mail out, I would want to check print later. However, this is a hand check. This is something that I wrote. So I'm going to type in the check number. And of course, because I'm doing a demo, the check is always 2112 because the greatest band ever is Rush. Anyway, so I'm going to put in my check number that I wrote. And over here, I'm going to choose my expense account. Again, just like we did office supplies or office expenses a moment ago, now this is our cost of goods. So this is parts. So we'll see what we have. This is a demo account, and we'll see what I have. So I have cost of goods sold. So I'm going to choose cost of goods sold because this is, as an auto repair place, I'm buying parts. And so this is the cost of the products and the services that I'm offering. So I'm going to choose cost of goods sold. And I'm going to put in auto parts I'm going to put in my description for fixing cars, right? Because that's what it is. And this, probably whatever part it is cheaper than printer ink, because I think printer ink is insanely expensive. So we're just going to say that I only spent $75, okay? So I'm going to type in $75. And once I'm done, I'm just going to go ahead, and I want to make sure that I click, you can click Save and New if I need to enter in another check, or I can drop this arrow down and I can choose Save and Close. And I'm going to choose Save and Close. So that's how we enter some expenses, manually enter some expenses. Emily is asking, if you're an accounting professional, what's the best way to become a QuickBooks ProAdvisor? Well, let me tell you. You're going to go to proadvisor.intuit.com, and it's right here. You just type in proadvisor.intuit.com. It's going to redirect you. So once I hit enter, it's going to redirect you to this crazy long URL. You don't have to worry about that. Once you're here at this website, I'll put in this longer URL here. Oops, hang on. Let me copy that. I don't want to cut it. Right, so I'll put in join the ProAdvisor program. I'm going to put this in the comments of the on Facebook. Right here. So once you're here at this website, you can scroll around, find out more information about the ProAdvisor program. What is it? What can you do? So joining the ProAdvisor program doesn't automatically get you listed on Find a ProAdvisor. It gets you, and I'll show you what it can get you. But the Find a ProAdvisor website, what this does is it lets you join. So you're going to click sign up. You're going to sign up. Once you sign up, you are going to have access to certification. And once you get certified in QuickBooks Online, and the QuickBooks Online, the online-only ProAdvisor program is completely free. I'm going to say it 100% changed my life. Joining the ProAdvisor program back in 2004, 2005 was the first step on the path that brought me right here where I am. Joining the ProAdvisor program allowed me to quit the job that I had, and my daughter was in, at the time we had one kid, she was in daycare. And so I was able to pull her out of daycare and start my own business by joining the ProAdvisor program. It was life-changing, I'll say that. But the online program is free, and once you get certified, there's training. If you need CPE and you're an accounting professional, you can go through those self-paced training modules, and you can get certified. Once you pass your certification exam, You get listed on Find a ProAdvisor. Just make sure you fill out your profile. And for more information about any of that, you can go to qbtrainingevents.com. Intuit does tons of training and webinars and live events about the ProAdvisor program and how to use QuickBooks Online as an accounting professional. Let's see if there are any other questions. So no other questions online, so I'm going to go ahead and record some sales, because that's one of the other questions that we talked about, or that are in the article. Sorry, I was reading some of the comments and questions. So we want to enter some sales. So again, I'm going to go to that Quick Create, that Spinny Plus, right? I'm going to click on that Spinny Plus. And then what I'm going to do over here is, if I'm going to get paid for something later, which the majority of us are going to enter an invoice, I'm going to click on Invoice. So I'm going to create an invoice, and I'm going to choose a customer. And let's say I'm going to put in a new customer, and one of my cat's names is Yoda. So I'm typing in Yoda the cat. He's orange, and when he was younger, he looked just like Yoda, and little ears. And so I want to say, right now I'm just going to put in the name. However, if I wanted, I could click details, and I could enter all of the contact information. However, right now, because I don't want to keep you guys here for all day or any longer than we need to, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click Save. So Yoda the cat is in. And I'm going to put in the email if I want. I can put in yodathecat@email.com. I want to get paid right away, so I'm going to change my terms to due on receipt. Invoice date is today. So because I just entered those expenses and they were dated yesterday, QuickBooks Online remembered that date and it left that here. But I want to put the invoice date today, so what I did was I just hit a T. So whatever date is showing in the date field in QuickBooks Online, if you hit T, it's going to take you to today. Okay, it's a nice little shortcut. So then I want to choose a product or service. And obviously, what I'm showing you is assuming that you have set up some products or services in QuickBooks Online. And so we're going to choose one of those. That's a whole nother town hall that we can do, is getting your QuickBooks Online set up and getting your products and services. So maybe I'll be back for that. So I'm going to choose, and again, I'm using a demo, so I'm going to choose design. I'm selling some custom design services to this particular customer, and I'm going to sell them 10 hours, but I'm going to do that, I'm going to charge $195. So even as I'm entering this item in, I'm choosing this item, I'm going to leave the default description. I entered the quantity. The rate that came up was $75. However, I can override that. Even though the product or the service is set up with a specific amount, I can go in and override that. So I'm choosing $195. And once I get all of that entered in, this is a non-taxable because this is service item. I'm going to go ahead. If I want, I can put a little message. I can add an attachment if I need to. So maybe I have some sort of agreement, or we have an estimate or proposal that I've given them. I can add that here if I want to. And then what I want to do is I can either choose to save and send, or if I click the arrow, I can choose just save and new, save and close, or what's really cool, a lot of people don't realize, is I can say save and share link. So if I click save and share link, what I can do is text that link to the invoice directly to my client. I can send it to them in a Facebook message. I can send it to them in a Twitter DM, whatever it is that I need to do. I can text it, whatever. Or I can just simply choose save and send. And so then what happens is this screen comes up that shows that the client is going to get the email, the invoice emailed to them. Right? So you can change the subject if you want. You can change the body of the email to say whatever you want it to say. And then when you're ready, we're going to go over here and we're going to say send and close. So that's, and it's a sample file, so it's saying you can't send them, which is fine. So that's one of the ways that we can enter sales. Let's see. We've got a couple more minutes. Here's a good question. How can this help me doing my taxes? So I'm going to say this about QuickBooks Online. this is something that we have lots of discussions with prospective clients this time of year, where they're like, hey, I kind of have it all in my head, or I sort of kept track of it. Having accurate books is not only going to help you make decisions about your business throughout the year and see whether or not you're making any money, but it's also going to help at the end of the year to get your taxes prepared. So it's going to help your tax preparer not only get your taxes done more quickly because you have a nice clean set of books, but this will also allow your tax preparer or your tax consultant, your tax advisor, whomever it is that you're working with, help you manage what your quarterly estimates are going to be. So if you don't know and you haven't paid, all of a sudden, I remember when I first started my business, I wasn't paying attention, and I didn't pay my first year my estimated quarterly taxes. So at the end of the year, I owed a huge chunk of change. Now, if I had been working with a tax professional, which I started because I don't do tax, I'm a bookkeeper, they were able to log in every quarter and say, oh, hey, just looked at your numbers. Here's what your estimates are. This is what you need to send in for the first quarter, for the second quarter, for the third quarter. And then another question is, what do I need to have prepared for the tax season? Well, the great thing with QuickBooks Online is you just have to have your books up to date, because QuickBooks Online allows you to add 2 accountant firm users, or so a bookkeeper and a tax preparer or a CPA. And as long as your books are up to date, they'll be able just to log in to your QuickBooks Online because you've invited them as the accountant user and pull any reports that they need. However, there are still some tax preparers, some CPAs that I know that are still not, they're not comfortable with it, or they don't know that that's a possibility. Or maybe you have your 2 accountant users, you have 2 different, whatever. For whatever reason, maybe they're not logging in. Generally, what your tax preparer is going to ask for is a profit and loss report. So P&L, income statement are some other names for this, as well as a balance sheet. So, and you can ask them specifically. They're also going to want a general ledger report. And this report shows all of the transactions that you've entered into your QuickBooks throughout that year. So those are kind of the majority of our questions. We're getting close to the end of our 30 minutes, and I'll see if we have any other, I don't see any other questions. No other questions? I just want to give you guys a few other resources that are available. I know that there is a PDF that is available, but I want to give you a few other resources. And let me just stop that share, and I'm going to share something else out. So these are some of the resources that you have available for some help. My blog, I have tons of how-to stuff on stacyk.net. That's my blog. You can go to the QuickBooks tutorial, and we're going to make this PDF available to you to download, I believe. We can put the link, I'll put the link for that in the town hall as well. We also have the QuickBooks blog that is available for you. Fundera Ledger, that's a really amazing source. They have so many great writers and so many great contributors. I know Don Brolin has contributed. I know Heather Satterley has contributed. There's a lot of really really smart people who are smarter than me, who post and write articles on Fundera's blog. My show, my podcast, QBO Show, and then if you go, you'll have a link to the article that we kind of based this town hall on, which is the 11 most frequently asked questions about QuickBooks Online. So I want to thank all of you for spending a little bit of time with me today. Hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, you can post them here in the comments, or you can contact me directly, Stacy at stacyk.net. Thanks.